Hello, America. JOC here with your Ranting Politics headline updates, where we are diving into today's most explosive political stories that you need to know about. Coming up, we are diving into the drama at the White House where Trump and Macron are butting heads over Ukraine peace talks. Spoiler alert, they're not exactly on the same page. Then we'll check out the viral video that's got everyone talking about the federal government's return to office mandate. Drama alert. Speaking of drama, the House GOP is at it again with some serious budget bill theatrics that could throw everything into chaos. And if that's not weird enough for you, wait until you hear about Russian soldiers getting their R&R in North Korean resorts. Yes, you heard that right. And to top it all off, apparently Nostradamus had something to say about Pope Francis. Because why not throw a 16th century psychic into the mix? Stick around. It's going to be a wild ride through today's headlines. Let's dive into the fascinating White House meeting between Trump and Macron, where the stark differences in their approaches to Ukraine couldn't have been more obvious. According to Reuters, while both leaders were playing nice for the cameras, their fundamental disagreements on handling the Ukraine situation were on full display. Trump's pushing hard for a quick ceasefire deal with Russia, even floating the idea of heading to Moscow to meet with Putin once things are ironed out. Meanwhile, Macron's over here pumping the brakes, insisting on a more careful approach. He's calling for a truce first, followed by a robust peace deal with serious security guarantees. As he put it, any agreement needs to be assessed, checked, and verified. Here's where it gets really interesting. Trump wouldn't call Putin a dictator, which is quite the contrast from last week when he labeled Zelensky with that exact term. Macron, on the other hand, didn't mince words, stating plainly that Russia is the aggressor and that President Putin violated the peace. The one thing they did manage to agree on was the concept of European peacekeepers once a peace deal is reached. Trump claims Putin's already on board with this idea, saying he specifically asked him about it. But Macron was quick to clarify these peacekeepers wouldn't be anywhere near the front lines or involved in any fighting. They'd just be there to make sure everyone plays nice. There's also this wild subplot about Trump trying to work out some kind of mineral revenue sharing deal with Ukraine. Apparently, it's his way of getting back some of the money the Biden administration spent on weapons. But Zelensky's not having it. He shot down demands for $500 billion in mineral wealth, pointing out that the U.S. hasn't even given Ukraine anywhere near that amount in aid. The meeting really highlighted the growing divide between European and American approaches to ending this conflict. While Trump's ready to fast-track a deal, even if it means Ukraine might have to give up some territory, Macron's standing firm on Ukraine's sovereignty. It's like watching two friends try to plan a dinner party where one wants to order takeout and the other insists on a 5-course meal. In a move that's got everyone talking, newly confirmed Small Business Administration Chief Kelly Loeffler just dropped a video tour that's absolutely blown up on social media, racking up over 17 million views. Picture this: empty cubicles, vacant offices, and a whole lot of eerily quiet workspace. It's like walking through a corporate ghost town, folks. Loeffler didn't waste any time making waves on just her second day on the job. She's implementing President Trump's latest executive order, putting an end to the widespread work-from-home policies that have kept about 90% of SBA employees operating remotely. Starting Monday, it's back to the office for everyone. This return-to-office mandate has sparked quite the debate. You've got Jeremy Carl, a former Interior Department bigwig, pointing out what he sees as the core issue. Federal employees basically can't be fired. And when you combine that with remote work and minimal accountability, well, you can see where he's going with this. Even Elon Musk, who's heading up the Department of Government Efficiency, chimed in with a simple "no one at work" observation. But not everyone's on board with this back-to-office push. Market researcher Anna Mattson fired back, calling it one of the worst Trump policies to date. She makes an interesting point about modern families needing both parents to work just to get by, and how adding hours of commute time each day really cuts into family life. The whole situation's bringing up some bigger questions about government efficiency, work-life balance, and what post-pandemic federal work should look like. Meanwhile, Republicans in Congress are already pushing Loeffler to tackle other hot-button issues, like alleged taxpayer-funded electioneering in swing states and tracking down those missing COVID relief funds. Looks like our new SBA chief's got her work cut out for her, whether anyone's in the office or not. The House GOP's mammoth budget reconciliation bill is hanging by a thread, folks, and let me tell you, it's like watching a high-stakes game of political chicken play out in real time. Speaker Mike Johnson's got a real puzzle on his hands with this one. With margins thinner than a pizza crust, he can only afford to lose one Republican vote if he wants this thing to pass. But here's where it gets spicy. We've already got Representatives Tim Burchett and Victoria Spartz giving this bill a hard no. Their big beef? They want ironclad guarantees that Congress is serious about slashing government spending. Meanwhile, over in the more moderate corner of the GOP, we've got about 6 to 10 representatives from swing districts getting cold feet about potential cuts to Medicaid and other federal programs. Representative Nicole Maliotakis from New York is playing it careful, saying she needs more clarity before making any moves. She's got a district full of seniors and folks with disabilities, and she's not about to throw them under the bus without some serious reassurances. And she's not alone. Representatives like Juan Ciscomani and Tony Gonzalez are still sitting on the fence. What's at stake here? We're talking about a massive package that would pump up spending on border security, the judiciary, and defense by roughly $300 billion. Plus, there's that $4.5 trillion extension of Trump's 2017 tax cuts hanging in the balance. The plan is to offset all this with somewhere between $1.5 to $2 trillion in spending cuts elsewhere. But as we're seeing, the devil's in the details. Kentucky's Thomas Massie really summed up the opposition's view when he dropped this truth bomb on social media. If the Republican budget passes, the deficit gets worse, not better. With the clock ticking and the stakes this high, something's got to give. And soon. In a twist that feels straight out of a Cold War spy novel, Russian soldiers are now heading to North Korea for R&R and medical treatment. I've got to say, when you think of luxury medical retreats, North Korea probably isn't the first destination that comes to mind. But here we are in 2025, and that's exactly what's happening. Take Alexei, a Russian soldier who thought he was heading to a nice Black Sea resort to recover from his Ukraine war injuries. Instead, he got a one-way ticket to Wonsan, North Korea. Talk about a vacation surprise. He found himself sharing facilities with about 24 other Russian troops, playing ping pong and cards to pass the time. Sure, the facilities were clean, but he says the food was about as exciting as watching paint dry. And forget about grabbing a drink or mingling with the locals. That was strictly off limits. Russia's ambassador to Pyongyang is practically beaming about this arrangement, bragging that hundreds of Russian soldiers are getting the North Korean spa treatment, all expenses paid. When Russia tried to chip in for the bill, North Korea apparently got offended. Now that's what I call aggressive hospitality. But here's where it gets interesting, folks. Some experts are raising eyebrows, wondering if these medical trips might be a convenient cover for military training and cooperation. I mean, it's probably just a coincidence that North Korea has also sent over 10,000 troops to support Russian forces in Kursk, right? The cherry on top? North Korea is even running summer camps for children of Russian soldiers who died in Ukraine. Nothing says international cooperation quite like a summer camp where kids march in unison and play musical instruments on command. Welcome to 2025, where yesterday's unlikely allies are today's best friends forever. Hold on to your seats, folks, because Nostradamus is back in the headlines with another one of his cryptic predictions, and this time it's about none other than Pope Francis. The 16th century prophet of doom who allegedly called everything from Hitler to 9/11 apparently had something to say about our current pontiff situation. According to his centuries-old writings, Nostradamus predicted the death of a very old pontiff, followed by the election of a Roman of good age. Now, with Pope Francis currently in critical condition on his 10th day of hospitalization, some are claiming this is exactly what the French mystic was talking about. The 88-year-old Pope is battling complications from a lung infection that's now affecting his kidneys, and Cardinal Timothy Dolan in New York didn't mince words when he described Catholics as being at the bedside of a dying father. The Vatican's trying to keep it positive, saying the Pope had a good night and remains in good spirits, but medical professionals are concerned about his stability given his age and pre-existing conditions. But let's keep it real here. Predicting that an elderly Pope might die and be replaced by another Roman Catholic isn't exactly the kind of prophecy that's going to blow anyone's mind. It's about as shocking as predicting that politicians will make promises during an election year. Nostradamus also threw in some dramatic flair about the destruction of the city of Seven Hills and a dreadful judge. But I'll let you connect those dots yourselves. As reported by the New York Post, these predictions are keeping the conspiracy theorists busy while the rest of us focus on the very real situation of Pope Francis's declining health. And that wraps up today's whirlwind tour through the headlines on ranting politics. We've covered quite a ground today, from Trump and Macron's tense discussions on Ukraine to empty government offices getting a wake-up call, House Republicans playing budget chicken, Russian soldiers getting some unexpected R&R in North Korea, and of course, Nostradamus throwing his hat into the papal prediction ring. Before we sign off, don't forget to join our growing community of politically savvy listeners. You can find us on X at RantingRP, catch our daily episodes on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts, or visit us at rantingpolitics.com for even more unfiltered political commentary. This is JOC, signing off, and thank you, our loyal listeners, for choosing Ranting Politics headline updates. We'll be back soon with the updates you need to navigate these interesting times. Until then, stay tuned, stay informed, and as always, stay free.